and gentlemen, the pleb is back. In this report, Pierre Poilievre put out an absolute fire press conference today where he started talking tough with Trump, but absolutely goes nuclear on WEF board member Mark Carney, who wants to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Also tonight, a dad and entrepreneur from Alberta is going viral, explaining why he likes some of the PPC policies, but ultimately he's voting for Pierre Poilievre. You won't want to miss this report. Stick around. Before we start this report, please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I'm trying to move out of my mother's basement and I'm 40 years old, and the only way I'm going to do this is if you subscribe to my channel, so help me stop being a loser and smash subscribe. Welcome to your Thursday report. And no, I don't live in my mother's basement. I was just trying to be funny after you guys roasted me for borrowing my buddy Clinton Jaws' line the last two videos. Anyways, enough with the cheesy jokes. Let's take it over to this Pierre Poilievre press conference.
Thank you very much, everyone. I want to thank the incredible workers who build these beautiful homes. They are the backbone of our country, and it would be nice if the people who built our homes could afford to live in those homes again, like they could before the 9 years of the Carney, Freeland, Trudeau Liberal government. I want to thank the great Jesse Sahota, who is a police officer that has been keeping our community safe, a wrestling coach who is a great mentor to the youth, and a master in jiu-jitsu and other martial arts. But
shout out to Jesse Sahota, who follows me on X, by the way. I gave him a follow back. Go follow Jesse Sahota on X. And I just want to say this. It seems like there's going to be legitimate alpha males in Pierre Poilievre's government instead of these nerds that Trudeau has been ruining our country with. Finally, some real men, a police officer, a martial artist, finally some dudes I can respect in the government.
I assure you he is a gentle giant. So thank you very much, Jesse, for being the future member of parliament.
Shout out to Jesse.
Delta.
Let's go.
You ever wonder why we can't have nice things in Canada anymore? Like healthcare or affordable food or homes, the stuff we used to take for granted as Canadians? You ever wonder why that is? After 9 years of Trudeau, Freeland, and Carney being in power, you know, in 2020, Carney started advising Trudeau on economics, right when Freeland became the finance minister. And what has been the result of this pact? Well, Canada's per capita GDP, income per person, has dropped more than any other country in that time period. Since 2020, our GDP per capita has dropped more than any other G7 country. That means lower wages and less purchasing power. We've seen $500 billion of Canadian investment pour into the United States to build pipelines, mines, factories, homes, and other infrastructure, creating American jobs with Canadian investment dollars. What has this meant in human terms? 2 million people lined up at food banks. A quarter of our population is now living in poverty. Stats Canada says that we now have the biggest gap between rich and poor since Stats Canada began recording that stat point in 1999. Our money is pouring out of Canada after Liberals, Carney, Trudeau, and Freeland blocked major resource projects, raised taxes on work, energy, and saving, and after they ran up huge deficits with massive overspending. That is the record of Carney and Freeland. Now they have a carbon tax that's 17 cents a liter. Carbon tax Carney has said the tax is not high enough and that it is rising too slowly for him. He wants it to rise even more. Chrystia Freeland has passed into law an increase to 61 cents a liter over the next 5 years. These lying Liberals will deny that right before the election to try and trick Canadians into letting them back in to raise taxes all over again. And then there's the jobs tax. In the budget of last year, Chrystia Freeland announced a capital gains tax hike. Now 66% of investment gains will be taxed under the Carney, Trudeau, Freeland Liberals. This is a tax on home builders when we have a housing shortage, a tax on doctors when we have a doctor shortage. It is a tax.
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, Pierre, but like, they want to raise capital gains taxes. They want us to risk our money in Canada investing, and they want to take the majority of the profits. And if we lose, well, you know, we get nothing back. They get all the upside on this. It's honestly sickening.
On small business when we have an economic crisis. It's a tax on farmers when we have a food price crisis. And it will send billions of dollars away. According to C.D. Howe, this tax will cost 400,000 jobs. How many of those jobs are represented here? Which one of these workers is going to lose their jobs because of this tax increase? How are they going to pay their bills when this Liberal tax increase is fully implemented? Well, the good news is common sense Conservatives are announcing today that under a Pierre Poilievre-led government, I will axe the Liberal jobs tax and reverse the capital gains hike that Chrystia Freeland announced last spring. We will bring down taxes. In fact, I will bring in, it's going to be called the Bring It Home tax cut.
Let's go.
It will reduce taxes on work,
good
investment,
yes,
making stuff, building homes, and energy, so that we can bring home more powerful paychecks and production to Canada. And now more than ever, we need it. President Trump has said he wants to tariff our country. We cannot afford economically destructive Liberal taxes that will drive even more business and jobs out of our country. We need to stand strong. My message to President Trump is this.
What is
Canada will never be the 51st state. And not only that, the free ride is over. The era of Liberal tax increases and anti-development policies that have driven $500 billion of our money south of the border is over.
Wow.
I will be cutting taxes, removing red tape, and unleashing free enterprise to bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of production and paychecks to this country. We will be a fierce free enterprise economy that delivers powerful paychecks to our people, that will allow anyone from anywhere to achieve anything, that guarantees that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods. That is how we bring it home for Canada. That is how we put Canada first.
Let's go.
Canada first, Canada last,
Canada always.
Let's bring it home.
Let's go.
Thank you. We will now take questions.
Pierre's on fire today. Pierre is on fire. Let's go. I'm pumped up. I am pumped up. And you know, these construction workers behind Pierre aren't rolling their eyes when they're forced to show up to a Trudeau announcement. You know, they're happy to be there. I'm a blue collar guy. I have had conversations with blue collar guys my whole life. None of them want to pay more taxes. None of them want to pay carbon taxes. These people work hard, and they're fed up of having all their paychecks taken away to liberal, woke, wacko governments. Let's go. The blue-collar Canadians in this country are on board with Pierre.
Just from the floor.
Hello, my name's Yvette Brand. I'm from CBC. Could I ask that you also answer in French for my colleagues who...
yes, of course.
Thank you very much.
Oui, merci.
Yeah. You could be Prime Minister within a few months in this country. Would you be willing to impose export tax or restrictions on Canadian oil? Because you'll be dealing with Trump's threats of tariffs. This would put pressure on the Trump administration. Or is this off the table for you as it is for Danielle Smith in Alberta?
Well, first of all, I think that the first thing that President Trump should do when he gets into the Oval Office is to send a big bouquet of flowers to the Liberal government in Ottawa. By blocking pipelines and LNG plants in Canada. The Liberals have forced Canadians to sell almost all of our energy to the United States, giving President Trump massive leverage in making these tariff threats.
Of course.
Had they allowed the Energy East and Northern Gateway pipelines to go ahead, had they rapidly approved LNG plants to sell the natural gas that Japan, Greece, Germany, and other countries were looking for us to sell them directly, we wouldn't have to give 100%, almost 100%, of our hydrocarbons to the Americans at discount prices, and you wouldn't have had to ask me that question. Because I would have answered, in that scenario, I would have answered, we'll go around the Americans. We'll sell our energy directly. But that's something that the Liberals would not let us do. Freeland supported killing the Energy East pipeline, which would have moved 1 million barrels of Western oil to the St. John refinery and off to Europe, by the way, which would have helped defund Putin. Carney testified in the industry committee that he was against the Northern Gateway pipeline to take Canadian oil to Asia without going through the United States. By the way, while his company buys pipelines in the Middle East and in Brazil. How unpatriotic is that?
Yeah. Canadians can't have pipelines, but I support pipelines in Brazil and other parts of the world. What a... Mark Carney is a Canada last clown.
So, frankly, the Liberals have got us in this mess by making us beholden to the Americans and giving them, the Americans, our energy at massive price discounts, selling our oil for $15 typically below the market rate, and selling them natural gas for $4 per million metric British thermal units when they're going for $13 in Europe. That is economic sadomasochism. And I will put an end
it's in the name of virtue signaling, which is what makes this even worse.
To it. When I'm Prime Minister, we will repeal the anti-energy law C-69.
Let's go.
We will rapidly approve LNG plants and any other private sector unsubsidized investments to expand our ability to sell our energy without going through the Americans. And I will unite our people. We see right now that not only have the Liberals weakened our economy, now they're resorting to dividing our people. Divide and conquer. Right when the president is threatening us with tariffs, what is the first thing the Liberal Party of Freeland and Carney think to do? Divide Canadians. Divide our provinces. We don't need to be divided. We need to be united.
That's it.
All provinces.
Let's go.
All Canadians. Let's put Canada first. Thank you.
En français.
I mean, he makes a good... I've been saying this for a while. Imagine if we had pipelines in Canada. Imagine we were producing oil at a grand scale. We would have all the leverage right now. But the left made us weak. They put us in a position of weakness. These tariffs are going to kill us because we're not producing oil. Pierre is on the money here.
Président Trump, c'est comme ça que nous allons mettre le Canada d'abord. Merci.
On va mettre le Canada d'abord, tabarnak. It doesn't sound as good as Canada first. No offense to my fellow Frenchmen.
Thank you. Next question.
Canada d'abord.
Good morning, Andrea McPherson, Global News. Your reaction to Danielle Smith's refusal to sign that joint agreement on the tariff retaliation plan by the premiers, and the impact you think that will have on Canada's battle against the tariffs?
Yes, I mean, like I said, I think the first thing President Trump will do when he takes office is to send a bouquet of flowers to the Liberals of Freeland, Carney, and Trudeau, who have weakened and divided our country and given him the upper hand. The Liberals have forced Canadians to sell 100% of our oil and gas to the Americans at discount prices, which has put us in this position of weakness. It'd be nice if we had pipelines and export terminals that could take our energy to Asia and Europe without going through the United States. But of course, the economic radicals of Trudeau, Freeland, and Carney blocked those projects because of their radical ideology, and they have made us more and more dependent on President Trump. And my approach will be exactly the opposite. I will quickly approve energy projects to send our energy to the rest of the world without relying on Americans, and we will make our country more self-reliant and independent. I will also unite our country. The Liberals are trying to divide one province against another. Canadian against Canadian, right at our moment of maximum vulnerability. This is because we do not have a functional federal government. So we have effectively 10 different foreign affairs ministers, one from each province, trying to fight separately. If we had a carbon tax election now, we could elect a strong, stable, national majority government that would stand up for all Canadians, all industries, in all provinces, and that's what we need to do.
And much to Pierre's point here, I think Cian Bexley really nails it here with this tweet, saying, sorry, but Alberta isn't embargoing a single barrel of oil to save Toronto Liberal voters' jobs. Maybe if they weren't trying to shut down the oil sands for the last 2 decades, we'd have some solidarity. Too bad. They blew it. Cian is 100% correct. Why would we ever side with these communists and bail them out? I'm not on their team. Anyways, let's bring it back to the press conference. I'm loving these French translations to patriotism here.
Canadien. Le Canada d'abord, le Canada avant tout.
Le Canada d'abord, le Canada avant tout. All right.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Monica Gould with City News. Barring any last-minute changes, TikTok is set to be banned in the U.S. this weekend. I'm curious what your thoughts are on a ban, and if you were to form government, if that is something you would pursue because of the national security concerns.
It's a good question. I've already ordered all of our Conservative MPs, senators, and our staff to stay away from TikTok altogether, stop using it because it risks infiltration and espionage and manipulation by the hostile regime in Beijing. I'll be following the decision in the United States very carefully. I don't have anything to announce right now, but it's a very good question and we'll be following it.
All right, final question.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Thank you, Brenna Owen, Canadian Press. So just to clarify, do you support including oil and gas in any retaliatory tariffs?
We don't import almost any oil and gas from the Americans, at least raw oil and gas. We mostly export it. So I'm not sure I understand your question when you say tariffs on American oil and gas. We don't import very much. Unfortunately, what we do is we send them our raw materials. They send it back refined. We don't have the value-added jobs in Canada, and that's because our very high taxes and heavy red tape have made it impossible for us to expand our industrial base and to make ourselves more self-reliant. But what I will do is axe the Liberal jobs tax, and I should mention, I forgot to mention this in my remarks, I will also be slashing corporate welfare. That's the subsidies and handouts we give to big businesses so that we can use those savings to make sure that getting rid of this tax hike does not add to our deficit.
Let's go.
I've committed to a $1 principle. Every time I spend $1 or lose $1 in tax revenues, I will find the savings so that we reduce the deficit. Et je vais répéter ça en français. Je vais couper la BS corporative.
All right. So that's the press conference. Pierre Poilievre just said he's going to cut all corporate welfare. I mean, the fact that we even have to bribe companies to do business in Canada just shows what a weak country we are. If we have a strong country, companies would be lining up to do business here. And I think under Pierre Poilievre, with all his tax cuts and removing the red tape, I think businesses are going to start setting up shop in Canada again. One thing is for sure, though, in a Pierre Poilievre Canada, we are going to drill, baby, drill again, and oil is going to be at the forefront of our economy. And I wanted to share this video with you guys that's going viral on social media. Is an Alberta entrepreneur who likes some of the PPC policies, but explains why he's going to vote for Pierre Poilievre. And it has everything to do with drill, baby, drill.
You PPC supporters just don't get it.
They
I'm going
don't.
to spell it out for you, okay? It's not that I don't like the policies of the PPC party. It is the fact that they don't have a chance at being elected, okay? You can say whatever you want about Pierre, whatever you want. He's going to open the energy industry.
Correct.
He knows we need to drill. He knows we need pipelines. He knows that's what's needed to service the debt. Something that should have been done a long time ago. So are you asking people to vote for a party that has a 0% chance of doing any of that and go back to liberalism for the next 4 years in hopes that
Yes.
you guys can get enough seats in the next 50 years?
Preach.
Is that what you are trying to ask people? Because if that's the case, you are willing to put Canada on hold for 50 years to garner support in hopes of maybe getting a seat. With Pierre, it's a sure chance and it's a risk. But I'm a businessman, and guess what? In business, we take risks. We take risks. And I'm from Alberta. So anybody who says drill, baby, drill and put pipelines in has my vote, basically.
Me too.
Get over yourselves. All you're doing is splitting the fucking vote. And you guys come around every 4 years just to fucking do what you do online. It's like, I've been irrelevant for 4 years, an election's here, let's go out there and push the PPCs. It ain't gonna work this time, it didn't work last time, and it's not gonna work in the future.
Bam! This guy completely nails it. He's completely on the money here. Imagine virtue signaling your way into poverty just so you could vote for Max. Virtue signaling your way into 4 more years of tyranny under the left and this communist approach they have to Canada. Do you know how insane you have to be to not vote for Pierre and vote for Max in the next election? I 100% stand with this guy. This is like the Alberta version of Stoner Guy because he is just spitting facts. And for those of you guys want to know who this patriot is, his name is Berta Proud Dad, at Berta Proud Dad on X. Give him a follow because clearly he makes very good content. And in our last segment of the night here, I want to quickly talk about dictator Mark Carney, Trudeau's choice to replace him, as today he showed up to Edmonton to announce his leadership campaign. And look how he showed up. Mark Carney showed up today in Edmonton to his leadership announcement in a Rolls-Royce limousine. Yes, probably the most elite car you could have, which is a Rolls-Royce Phantom. He showed up to announce his leadership bid to the people of Canada. The self-proclaimed outsider seriously showed up in a Rolls-Royce. These leftists have absolutely no self-awareness. And in the last couple of days on X, I've been hammering Mark Carney for being a dictator. I'm quite frankly terrified of this guy. He scares me way more than Justin Trudeau. I mean, he's a board member of the WEF, and the machine are trying to plant him as the next Prime Minister of Canada. But when I say dictator, I actually mean it, because what I'm about to show you is some real receipts. At today's press conference, Mark Carney is having accredited journalists removed from the press conference. This is a total Trudeau liberal move. Yes, censoring the media. This is what he is. This guy is a dictator, and he's just like Trudeau. Can you imagine Mark Carney, the WEF board member, as the next Prime Minister of Canada? It's truly, truly terrifying. But I could leave you guys on a comedic note here with a little bit of hope. On the bright side here, posted by Jeff Bellingal, apparently Mark Carney's website is down. On the day he's announcing he's going to be the next liberal leader, well, his website is not even working. So on the bright side, he's not hiring the best people to run his campaign. And that makes me happy. And in our last clip of the night, the Conservatives have released an attack ad on Mark Carney, which paints him exactly what he is, an elitist who's out of touch with dictator vibes. Look at this.
Mark Carney is back from Europe
And speaking as a European,
to continue what Justin Trudeau started.
A steady increase in the price of carbon. Carbon prices have been applied sparingly. They've been set far too low.
He even called Trudeau's carbon tax a model for others. So no matter what he calls it,
Effectively a shadow carbon price, or price on pollution,
you're going to keep paying.
in some form of carbon tax.
Carbon tax Carney. He's just like Justin.
you sneaky.
Mark Carney.
This dude is just as hypocritical as Justin Trudeau. I mean, he preaches the carbon tax, he preaches climate change, but shows up to his own press conference today in one of the least, probably the least gas efficient car of all time, a Rolls-Royce Phantom limousine. I can't stand this guy, and we must stop him at all costs. All right, family, that is it for today's report. But I want you to tell me in the comments, what did you guys think of that Pierre Poilievre press conference? Are you more and more impressed with Pierre Poilievre by the day in terms of how he's morphing into Canada's leader? Are you enjoying seeing this strength that he's projecting towards Trump? I want to hear it in the comments down below. All right, guys, if you made it this far, you are a legend. And if you want to support my channel, you're already doing it by watching, but you could like, you could share, you could comment, you could subscribe, tell your friends about that crazy bald dude named The Pleb on YouTube, or you could buy a $5 membership. My name is The Pleb, and I'll see you guys at the next report. Pierre, hit us with that classic outro.
Hey, good to see you. Hey, keep up the great work. Thank you.